The wind howled like a beast above the Atlantic, roaring against the helicopter's glass as it skimmed the silver waves below. Anna Nguyen, 5 months pregnant, smiled faintly, pressing a hand over her belly. "Our baby can hear the ocean," she said softly through the headset, her voice trembling with awe. Mark Sullivan, her husband, sat across from her, his sunglasses hiding eyes colder than the wind outside. "Yeah," he muttered, tightening his grip on the door handle. The pilot, oblivious, focused on the dashboard, adjusting their route over the Long Island coastline. Anna turned her gaze to the endless water, blue, alive, endless. She thought this trip was a celebration, their 3rd wedding anniversary, her chance to breathe after months of morning sickness. Mark had surprised her with this helicopter ride, saying he wanted to capture a memory before the baby arrives. But the camera strapped to his wrist wasn't recording love. It was recording proof. "Do you feel okay?" she asked, sensing something strange in his silence. He forced a grin. "You trust me, right?" Her heartbeat quickened. "Of course, Mark. Why?" His hand moved too fast, too sudden. He unclipped her seatbelt. For a second, Anna didn't understand. The wind tore into the cabin, shrieking. She screamed his name. "Mark," but his voice was steady, calm, even cruel. "I'm sorry, Anna. I had no choice." Then came the shove. The world turned white. The cold slammed into her body as she plunged through the air, spinning, gasping, the ocean rushing toward her like an iron wall. Her scream vanished into the storm. Inside her belly, life kicked. 1, 2, desperate beats. The helicopter's shadow shrank above, a black cross fading against the sun. Then, impact. Salt burned her throat. Pain burst through her chest. She sank, lungs screaming, light dimming into murky silence. Somewhere above, the chopper circled once, then disappeared. For a moment, death felt merciful. She could let go, let the water pull her down, away from betrayal, away from pain. But then, a memory flickered. Her baby's heartbeat from the last ultrasound, the sound she'd played on her iPhone every night before sleep, that tiny thump of hope. She kicked, fought, clawed upward. The surface felt impossibly far, but she refused to die. Not like this. Not for him. Her head broke through the waves. She coughed, choking, eyes burning. The helicopter was gone. All she saw was open sea and distant white sails glimmering near the horizon. "Help," she screamed, voice hoarse. "Somebody, please." Her arms ached. The salt stung her eyes. The wind whipped her hair against her face. She floated, barely conscious, waves slapping over her mouth. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. On a luxury yacht half a mile away, a couple sipping champagne on the deck heard something faint, a woman's cry carried by the wind. The husband squinted, grabbing his binoculars. "There, something's in the water." The wife dropped her Tiffany glass. "Oh my God, call the Coast Guard." Anna tried to stay afloat, whispering to her unborn child. "Hold on. Mommy's here. Hold on." The sound of rotor blades returned, but not the same helicopter. A rescue chopper cut through the mist, light sweeping across the water. A voice crackled over the speaker. "We've got her. Hold on." Her body gave in just as the rope descended. As strong hands reached for her, everything went dark again. Yet this time there was peace in her fall. She wasn't dying. She was being found. She had survived. And though no one could see it yet, somewhere deep in the wreckage of her heart, a fire began to burn. A quiet promise she would return. And when she did, the world would know the truth. The world returned in fragments, salt in her mouth, the ache of bruises blooming under her skin, and the rhythmic chop of blades above her head. Anna coughed violently as arms pulled her from the freezing water. A bright orange rescue harness wrapped around her chest, her soaked maternity dress clinging like second skin. "We've got a live one," someone shouted over the roar of the helicopter. She couldn't open her eyes fully, only flashes. A woman in a red flight suit leaning over her, checking her pulse, a flashlight cutting through fog, the distant hum of sirens below. "You're safe now," the woman said, voice calm but urgent. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Anna," she gasped, shaking uncontrollably. "My baby." The woman pressed a stethoscope to her belly, listening. Relief crossed her face. "Heartbeat steady. You're both alive." Alive. The word felt foreign, fragile. As the helicopter lifted toward the Manhattan skyline, Anna turned her head slightly and saw the endless gray water stretch beneath her. Somewhere down there, her husband's betrayal sank like an anchor. The rescuer squeezed her hand. "I'm Dr. Elise Carter. You're safe with me." Safe. The word echoed, but it didn't feel real. Hours later, bright lights burned her eyes as she was wheeled through the ER of New York Presbyterian Hospital. Doctors swarmed, nurses murmured. IV lines, oxygen, monitors, machines beeped, life resumed. Through it all, she said the same thing again and again. My husband pushed me. He pushed me. They thought it was shock talking. The attending physician gently told her to rest, but Dr. Carter stayed beside her, refusing to dismiss the tremor in Anna's voice. After a while, Elise leaned in quietly. You said your husband pushed you. Do you remember why? Anna blinked, tears cutting through the salt on her cheeks. He said, no choice. Insurance. Elise's eyes hardened. Insurance? Anna nodded weakly, drifting in and out of consciousness. By morning, news of a miraculous pregnant survivor rescued off Long Island had reached local channels. No names yet, just speculation. Meanwhile, in a penthouse overlooking Fifth Avenue, Mark Sullivan turned off his flat-screen TV, pretending to be shocked. He dialed a number, whispering, we stick to the plan, she's gone, understand? But fate had changed the script. When Anna woke again, sunlight was pouring into her hospital room. The skyline shimmered through tall windows, Manhattan in all its cruel beauty. Her wrist was bandaged, her face pale, but her eyes were open, focused. On the table beside her lay her iPhone, still in a waterproof case found near the shoreline. A nurse said softly, your husband's been calling non-stop. Should I let him through? Anna's breath caught. No, she whispered. Not yet. Dr. Carter entered, holding a cup of coffee, her badge glinting. The police might visit today. They'll want your statement once you're ready. Will they believe me? Anna asked, voice small. Elise looked at her, a slow, deliberate gaze. We'll make them believe you. Outside, reporters were already camped near the hospital entrance, hunting for the survivor's face. Somewhere in the noise of city traffic, Anna could hear helicopters again, every blade twist slicing through memory. She touched her belly and murmured, we're still here, little one. We're not done. The monitor beeped steadily beside her bed, a fragile rhythm of survival. She closed her eyes, letting the sound anchor her to life. But deep down, behind the bruises and broken trust, something else began to awaken, a quiet, burning need for truth. She didn't know how yet, or when, but one thing was certain. The man who tried to erase her would soon learn what it meant to fear the woman who survived him. The next morning, the hospital corridors smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee. Anna sat upright in her bed, wrapped in a pale blue blanket, her dark hair still damp from the salt water. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor comforted her. Every beep reminded her that both she and her baby were still alive. Dr. Elise Carter entered quietly, holding a folder and 2 cups of Starbucks coffee. She placed one on the bedside table. Decaf, she said with a small smile. Doctor's orders. Anna managed a weak chuckle. Thank you for everything. You saved us. Elise pulled up a chair beside her. I didn't save you, she said gently. You saved yourself. Most people wouldn't have survived that fall. You did. That means something. Anna stared at her hands, bruised but steady. He tried to kill me, my husband. The words felt heavier when spoken aloud. Mark, he pushed me out of the helicopter. Elise nodded slowly. I believe you. And the Coast Guard confirmed that the pilot thought something was off. He said he heard shouting before the emergency call dropped. Anna's pulse quickened. Did they find the helicopter? Yes, Elise said. They found it at a private hangar in Long Island, rented under your husband's name. The police have already started asking questions. For the first time since the fall, Anna felt a flicker of hope, but it was tangled with fear. He's powerful, Elise. He knows people. If he finds out I'm alive, Elise reached across, gripping her hand. He won't. Not yet. I haven't released your name to the media. Officially, you're Jane Doe for now. Anna exhaled shakily. Why are you helping me? Elise hesitated, her expression softening. Because I've seen this before. My sister was in a situation like yours. Different ending. Her eyes glistened for a moment before she looked away. I couldn't save her. Maybe I can save you. The room fell silent except for the hum of machines. Outside, the Manhattan skyline gleamed in the winter sun, beautiful, distant, untouchable. Later that afternoon, a detective arrived. Luis Romero, mid-40s, calm eyes, New York accent. He introduced himself quietly, respecting her fragility. Mrs. Sullivan, we're treating this as a possible attempted homicide. Do you feel ready to give a statement? Anna looked at Elise. Elise nodded. It's your choice. I'm ready, Anna whispered. she recounted everything. The surprise anniversary trip, Mark's odd behavior, his sudden quietness before the fall. She remembered how he'd said, "You trust me, right?" and how the words had turned into a death sentence. Romero listened carefully, recording each word. When she finished, he closed his notebook and said, "We'll verify your claims, ma'am. I promise you, if there's truth here, we'll find it." But Anna could read his expression. He wasn't fully convinced yet. She couldn't blame him. Who would believe that a husband pushed his pregnant wife from a helicopter for money? After he left, Elise stayed behind. "You did great," she said softly. "This isn't over. We'll take it one step at a time." That night, when the hospital quieted down, Anna turned on her iPhone. Her screen was cracked but still working. Dozens of missed calls, Mark's name flashing over and over. One voicemail caught her eye, his voice trembling, pretending to worry. "Anna, if you hear this, please call me. I'm losing my mind. I can't believe you're gone." She deleted it without hesitation. She wasn't gone. She was here. Breathing. Watching. Waiting. Elise stopped by one last time before leaving for her next shift. "Try to rest," she said. "Tomorrow we'll talk about what comes next." Anna nodded, her hand resting over her belly. Outside her window, another helicopter passed by, lights gliding over the city. She closed her eyes, whispering to the child within her, "He thinks I'm dead. Let him think that a little longer." Because the woman who fell from the sky was about to rise higher than he ever imagined. The skyline of Manhattan shimmered like glass under the pale morning light when Anna opened her eyes again. Her body still ached from the fall, but the hospital room around her felt strangely calm, too calm. The city hummed faintly beyond the window, a heartbeat that never stopped. She sat up slowly, breathing through the stiffness, one hand instinctively resting on her belly. The door opened, and Nurse Carla peeked in with a soft smile. "You're quite the miracle, honey. The doctor said you can eat solid food today." Anna managed a small nod. "Thank you." On the table beside her bed sat a breakfast tray, toast, oatmeal, and a single green apple. The scent of hospital coffee mixed with city air drifting through a narrow crack in the window. She picked up her iPhone, scrolled through missed calls. 32 from Mark, 3 from an unknown number, and one text that made her blood run cold. "They're looking for you. Don't talk." Her throat tightened. Who was they? Just then, a knock on the door broke her thoughts. Detective Romero entered, carrying a thin leather folder and a voice recorder. His manner was polite but firm, like someone used to bad news. "Mrs. Sullivan, sorry to bother you again. I have a few updates." Anna gestured for him to sit. Romero opened the folder, flipping through printed photos. "We found the helicopter pilot. He says your husband told him to turn off the headset for 10 minutes during the flight because of motion sickness noise. The pilot thought it was odd, but followed instructions. When he turned it back on, you were gone." Anna clenched the blanket. "Did he see anything?" "No, but he heard yelling before the silence." Romero paused. "Also, your husband reported you missing an hour after the incident. He said you fell accidentally while taking pictures." Her lips trembled. "He's lying," Romero sighed. "That's what I'm here to find out. We'll need to run a few tests, toxicology, physical injuries, any evidence that shows struggle." "I'll do whatever it takes," Anna said. When he left, she noticed a new visitor standing quietly by the door, a woman in a black trench coat, elegant yet warm-eyed. She introduced herself with a firm handshake. "Vivian Park? I work with women who've survived trauma. Dr. Carter asked me to stop by." Anna tilted her head. "Are you a therapist?" "Something like that," Vivian said softly. "Let's just say I help people rebuild when their world burns down." She sat beside Anna, her Cartier bracelet catching the sunlight. "I read your file. You were lucky, but luck doesn't fix betrayal. You need a plan," Anna swallowed. "A plan?" Vivian leaned closer. "He already filed for your insurance claim. 2 policies, $5 million each, one private, one corporate." Anna froze. "Insurance? Already?" Vivian nodded grimly. "He's moving fast. That means you have to move faster." For a long moment, Anna said nothing. The idea that the man she once shared a bed with was cashing her death hit like a second fall. "What should I do?" Vivian smiled faintly. "First, disappear. Let him think you're still gone. Dr. Carter has arranged for you to transfer to a private clinic under another name. From there, we'll gather proof. Once we have everything, we make the world see what he did." Anna stared out the window at the spires of Manhattan. Fifth Avenue gleamed below, alive and cruel. "He tried to bury me in the ocean," she said quietly. "But he forgot something." Vivian raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" Anna turned. Eyes hard now, voice steady. "I can swim." That night, as the city lights blinked awake, Anna packed a small bag, a few clothes, her cracked phone, and a photograph of her ultrasound. The nurse handed her discharge papers under a different name, Amy Nguyen. When the elevator doors closed behind her, the reflection staring back wasn't a victim anymore. It was a woman who had risen from the dead, and she was ready to haunt her betrayer. The private clinic on the Upper East Side didn't look like a place where people hid. It looked like peace wrapped in marble. Pale walls, quiet halls, and the faint smell of lavender. No press, no reporters, no one asking questions. Anna walked through the lobby wearing oversized sunglasses and a simple coat that Vivian had brought her. To the world, she was no longer Anna Sullivan. She was Amy Nguyen, quiet, ordinary, invisible. Dr. Elise Carter met her in a private room with a soft smile. "Welcome back to the living," she said gently, handing Anna a folder. "Your blood work's clean, your baby's strong, and the bruises are healing." Anna touched her belly with trembling fingers. "That's all that matters." But even as she said it, the fire inside her hadn't dimmed. It had only grown sharper. Elise set down her tablet. "Vivian and I talked last night. There's a lawyer we trust, Henry Blake. He specializes in insurance fraud. He's agreed to meet you today, privately." "Insurance fraud," Anna repeated, tasting the words. "So that's what he thought he'd get away with." Elise nodded. "Your husband filed your death claim yesterday afternoon. He told the company that your body was lost at sea. He even produced a falsified witness statement." Anna's nails dug into her palm. "He didn't even wait a week." Elise's eyes softened. "People like him never do." An hour later, a black sedan pulled up in front of the clinic. Vivian stepped out, wearing dark shades and confidence like armor. "You ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be." They drove down Park Avenue, the city gliding by. Wealth, steel, noise. Anna stared out the window at strangers walking beneath glittering skyscrapers. Somewhere among them, her husband was living his life as if nothing had happened. Maybe he was sitting in his office. Maybe he was smiling at someone new. Maybe he was celebrating her death. The thought made her stomach twist. The car stopped in front of a tall glass building. Inside, a man in his 50s greeted them with a firm handshake and calm eyes. "Henry Blake," he said. "Please, come in." His office was lined with law books and soft jazz. He poured tea instead of coffee, his movements deliberate. "Dr. Carter told me a little, but I'd like to hear it from you." Anna told everything again. Each detail, each sound, each piece of that horrible day. Blake took notes, his brow tightening as the story unfolded. When she finished, he turned the notepad around, showing her a name printed in bold letters. Sullivan Life Insurance Holdings. "Your husband has 2 active policies on you," Blake explained. "One worth $5 million, one worth $3 million. Both issued within the past year. He listed himself as sole beneficiary." Anna frowned. "Is that legal?" "Legal, yes, but the timing is suspicious. He took both right after your pregnancy was confirmed. He used different brokers, probably to avoid detection." Vivian leaned forward. "How do we prove intent?" Blake smiled faintly. "We don't. He'll do it for us. Men like Mark always make mistakes when they think they've won." Anna stared at the contracts spread across the desk, her pulse racing. She recognized Mark's handwriting, his signature at the bottom of every page. She remembered how proud he looked the day he'd told her he'd secured their future. It hadn't been their future. It had been her price tag. "Can we stop him?" she asked quietly. Blake closed the folder. "Not yet. We need evidence, proof he planned your death. But we'll find it. I know a private investigator who can trace the transactions. You just need to stay hidden and stay alive." Anna nodded slowly. "Hidden, I can do. Alive, I've already mastered that." As they left the office, Vivian touched her arm. "You're stronger than you think." Anna looked up at the skyscrapers glittering against the afternoon sun. "He wanted me gone," she murmured, "but he forgot something." Vivian smiled knowingly. "What's that?" Anna's voice turned to steel. "Dead women don't fight back, but I'm not dead. And soon, he'll wish I had been." Mark Sullivan's world looked perfect from the outside. His penthouse on Fifth Avenue gleamed with glass and marble, his closet filled with tailored suits and designer ties. A silver Mercedes S-Class waited downstairs, freshly detailed. But behind the polished smile was a man drowning in secrets and debt. He stood before a mirror that morning, straightening his cufflinks. His reflection stared back, smug and hollow. On his wrist gleamed a stainless steel Rolex Submariner, the same one he'd been wearing the day he pushed Anna from the helicopter. He smirked at it like an old accomplice. The doorbell rang. Kara Pierce, his mistress, breezed in, her heels clicking across the marble floor. "You look calm for a man whose wife just died," she teased, dropping her Dior handbag on the couch. Mark poured himself a drink, though it was barely 10 a.m. "Calm is strategy," he replied. "The less emotion I show, the faster the claim clears." Kara arched an eyebrow. "You really think they'll believe she fell accidentally?" He chuckled, sipping his whiskey. "They already do. I gave them the story: wind turbulence, loose seatbelt, tragic fall. The pilot confirmed my version." Kara crossed her arms. "And if she's found?" He stiffened. "She won't be. No one survives that fall." Kara walked toward the window, staring down at the city below. "You're colder than I thought." Mark's eyes hardened. "You think I did this for fun?" "I was drowning. My company's falling apart. Investors want answers. The bank's breathing down my neck. Those insurance payouts were my reset button." Kara studied him. "You mean our reset button?" He smiled faintly. "Of course." But even as he said it, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Kara knew greed when she saw it. She'd worked with wealthy men before, charmed them, used them, but Mark was different. There was something unhinged behind his charm, a darkness that scared even her. As she turned to leave, she noticed a small stack of envelopes on the kitchen counter. Final notices, overdue payments, gambling debts. One envelope bore the logo of a private casino in Atlantic City. She didn't say a word, but she saw the truth. He wasn't a mastermind. He was desperate. Later that afternoon, Mark sat in his office at Sullivan Holdings, pretending to review reports. His assistant knocked softly. "Sir, there's a detective asking to speak with you. Luis Romero." Mark's jaw tightened. "Send him in." Romero entered with quiet authority, flashing his badge. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you for your time. I'm following up on your wife's disappearance." "Just routine." Mark leaned back, feigning sorrow. "I've already told the Coast Guard everything. It was an accident. She leaned too far for a photo, and before I could reach her." He paused, lowering his voice. "She was gone." Romero nodded slowly, eyes sharp. "Tragic. And you said there were no arguments that day?" "None," Mark replied smoothly. Romero's gaze flicked to the whiskey glass on the desk. "You filed the insurance claim pretty fast, didn't you?" Mark smiled politely. "Grief affects people differently, detective. I needed closure." Romero scribbled in his notebook. "Sure, closure." He stood. "If anything comes up, I'll be in touch." As the detective left, Mark exhaled heavily, gripping the edge of his desk. He told himself it was fine. The police had nothing. The pilot was paid. The papers were perfect. Still, he couldn't shake the sound of Anna's scream echoing in his head. That night, as he lay in bed beside Kara, pretending to sleep, his phone buzzed once on the nightstand. A blocked number. He unlocked it and froze. A single message glowed on the screen. "Did you think the ocean would keep me forever?" His glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. Somewhere in Manhattan, a woman was breathing, and she was coming for him. 2 days passed before Anna dared to turn her phone back on. The cracked screen lit up her small apartment in the private clinic's guest wing, casting faint light across the white walls. Dozens of missed calls from unknown numbers, but one message blinked like a heartbeat. "Did you think the ocean would keep me forever?" She hadn't sent it. Vivian had. "It's bait," Vivian said as she sat across from Anna at the small kitchen table. She wore a simple black coat, her voice calm but edged with steel. "We need him to panic. Men like Mark make mistakes when they're scared." Anna stared at the message, conflicted. "He'll know I'm alive." Vivian shook her head. "Not yet. He'll think someone found something, a diver, a fisherman, a witness. Fear makes liars talk faster." Dr. Elise entered, holding a medical chart. "I just checked your vitals," she said. "You're stable, but you need rest, not revenge." Anna smiled faintly. "Rest can wait," Elise sighed. "Then at least do it carefully. You're not fighting just a man. You're fighting his money, his lawyers, and his ego." Vivian smirked. That's why she's not fighting alone. She placed a sleek silver laptop on the table and opened a folder labeled Proof. Inside were copies of Mark's insurance applications, the claim forms, and most importantly, a payment schedule linking him to a shady broker in Jersey City. "How did you get all this?" Anna asked, astonished. Vivian leaned back. "Let's just say people owe me favors. One of my old contacts at the insurance firm slipped me the files, and I hired a private investigator, Sam DeLuca. Ex-cop, good instincts. He's already tracking the broker who handled your husband's paperwork." Anna felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in weeks: control. "So what happens next?" Vivian handed her a burner phone. "You disappear again. Stay offline, stay invisible. DeLuca will gather what we need. Once we have proof of premeditation, we take it to the DA. Until then, no calls, no emails, nothing." Elise added quietly, "And keep your stress low. Your baby feels everything you feel." Anna nodded, her hand instinctively resting on her stomach. "I just want this to be over. I want to breathe again." That night, as the city's hum softened into a low murmur outside, Anna sat by the window with her iPhone off and her heart restless. In her lap lay a worn notebook she'd found in the clinic's reading lounge. On the cover, someone had scribbled, "To rebuild, first you must burn." She wrote her own words beneath it. "He burned me first. Now it's my turn." Across town, Mark sat alone in his penthouse, his nerves fraying. The text haunted him. He deleted it twice, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. The moment she realized what he'd done, Kara noticed his unease. "You're acting strange," she said, lighting a cigarette near the window. He didn't look at her. "Someone sent me a message." "Who?" "I don't know," he said, rubbing his temples, but it sounded like her. Kara frowned. "That's impossible. She's gone, Mark." He didn't answer. He poured another drink, staring at the ice melting in the glass. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "Insurance money can't buy forgiveness." He dropped the glass, whiskey splashing across the marble floor. His reflection in the window looked pale, frightened. "Mark?" Kara's voice trembled now. "What's happening?" He didn't reply. He just whispered, almost to himself, "Maybe the dead don't stay buried." Back at the clinic, Anna felt her baby move for the first time since the fall. A gentle kick, a reminder of life. Tears welled in her eyes. "We're still here," she whispered. "And we're not done." Outside, thunder rolled over Manhattan. The storm had finally begun. The next morning, a pale winter sun spilled over Manhattan's skyline like molten silver. Anna stood before a mirror in the small apartment that Vivian had arranged for her, staring at the reflection of a woman she barely recognized. Her face was thinner, her eyes darker, her posture quieter, but there was something new, something fierce, alive, unbreakable. Vivian entered the room carrying a garment bag and a faint smile. "You can't confront monsters looking like a ghost," she said. "Time for a little transformation." Inside the bag lay a tailored black dress, elegant but strong, paired with a cream trench coat and soft leather heels. Anna hesitated. "Vivian, this feels like a disguise." Vivian shook her head. "No, this is armor." As Anna dressed, Vivian brushed her hair back, letting it fall loose around her shoulders. The reflection that stared back at her didn't look like a victim anymore. She looked like someone who'd walked through hell and made it out alive. "Perfect," Vivian said, clasping a simple necklace around Anna's neck. "No diamonds, no gold, just presence." Anna smiled faintly. "I never realized presence could be louder than jewelry." "It always is," Vivian replied. Later that day, they met Henry Blake in a quiet cafe tucked between two glass towers near Park Avenue. He sat by the window, reading a document on his MacBook Pro, his Mont Blanc pen resting neatly beside his coffee. When he saw Anna, he stood. "You look different," he said approvingly. Anna sat down, calm and composed. "I feel different." Blake smiled. "Good, you'll need that. We found something big." He opened a file and slid it across the table. Inside were transaction records, money transfers between Mark and the insurance broker dated 3 days before the accident. The amounts were large, too neat, too intentional. Anna's heart pounded. "He paid someone." "Exactly," Blake said. "And we traced one payment to a pilot training program overseas, most likely a fake identity used to launder the bribe." Vivian leaned closer. "Can this hold up in court?" "Not yet," Blake replied, "but it's the start of a chain. Once DeLuca finds the broker, we'll have the missing link." Anna nodded slowly. "Then let's find him." Blake looked impressed. Anna's gaze was steady. I died once already. Nothing scares me now. That evening, Anna and Vivian took a walk through Central Park. The city glowed in shades of amber and frost. Couples passed by holding hands, runners in headphones, children chasing pigeons near the fountain. It all looked so normal, so peaceful, that for a moment Anna almost forgot she was a ghost in her own life. She sat on a bench, touching her belly lightly. "You know what's strange?" she said softly. "I used to be afraid of everything. Losing my job, disappointing Mark, saying the wrong thing. Now I'm not afraid of anything except losing myself." Vivian sat beside her. "That's how you know you're healing. Fear doesn't vanish, it changes shape." They sat in silence until Anna's phone buzzed. It was a new number, unlisted. She answered cautiously. "Mrs. Sullivan?" a deep voice said. Her pulse spiked. "Who is this?" "Name's Sam DeLuca. I work with Henry Blake. I think I found your guy, the broker. He's meeting someone tomorrow night at the River Cafe in Brooklyn. You'll want to hear what he has to say." Anna looked at Vivian. "Tomorrow night," she whispered. Vivian nodded. "Then tomorrow, the ghost walks among the living." That night, Anna stood again before the mirror in her apartment. The city lights flickered across her reflection like stars trapped behind glass. She didn't look away this time. She whispered to the woman staring back, "He took everything from us. Now I'll take everything back." Outside, snow began to fall. Soft, quiet, relentless. And with every flake that touched the ground, Anna Nguyen was reborn. The River Cafe glowed beneath the Brooklyn Bridge that night, its glass walls reflecting the rippling lights of Manhattan across the water. Snow fell in slow, steady drifts, softening the edges of the city. Inside, tables sparkled with crystal glasses and quiet conversation, the kind of luxury that made people drop their guards. At a corner table near the window, Anna sat with Vivian, her trench coat draped over the chair, her hair neatly tied back. She blended perfectly, neither rich nor poor, just another face in the crowd. But beneath the calm, her pulse was steady fire. Sam DeLuca entered, tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that scanned the room like a man who'd seen too much. He wore a dark wool coat and carried no folder, no bag, just a quiet confidence. When he spotted Anna, he nodded once and joined them. "Your husband's broker just arrived," Sam said under his breath. "Guy's name is Harold Green. 48, works for Sterling Financial. Been on the company's radar before, little shady, but never caught." Anna followed Sam's gaze. Across the room, a heavy-set man with a thinning hairline sat down at a booth with another guest, a nervous-looking young man clutching a briefcase. "That's him?" she whispered. "That's him," Sam confirmed. "And the guy he's meeting works at Sullivan Holdings." Anna's breath hitched. "Mark sent him." Vivian leaned closer. "Let's record this." Sam tapped his ear subtly. "Already done." From their table, they could only catch fragments of conversation carried by the hum of the restaurant. But the mic hidden in Sam's cufflink picked up every word. Harold's voice came through faintly. "Your boss wants everything processed before the week's out. Tell him it's not that easy. The claim's flagged for review." The younger man fidgeted. "He said you'd handle it." Harold scoffed. "Tell him to relax. Accidents happen all the time. But this one's getting attention. Coast Guard's sniffing around. Some doctors talking about unusual bruising. If that leaks, the claim's dead." Anna froze. "Elise, they were trying to silence her doctor." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "We have enough to go to the DA with that." Sam shook his head. "Not yet. We need him to name Mark directly." A waiter passed by, placing another drink at Harold's table. The broker took a sip, leaning in. "Look, tell Sullivan to keep his mouth shut. If he starts panicking, it's over. He already left a trail of transfers I can't clean up." Anna felt her chest tighten. "Trail of transfers?" Sam nodded slowly. "He just buried himself." Vivian glanced at the recorder on Sam's phone, its waveform still pulsing. "We got it. We have him." Just then, Harold's gaze flicked toward them. For a split second, Anna thought he'd recognized her, but he only squinted, shook his head, and turned back to his drink. Still, her hands trembled under the table. She whispered, "Let's go, before he does." They slipped out into the snowy night, the cold air hitting her face like a slap of truth. Across the river, the Manhattan skyline shimmered, beautiful, distant, merciless. Sam handed the recording to Vivian. "I'll make 3 copies tonight. One for Blake, one for the DA, and one off-site backup. That way, even if someone tries to erase it, it lives." Anna nodded, but her gaze lingered on the water. He's still out there, drinking, sleeping, breathing, and he thinks I'm gone. Vivian placed a hand on her shoulder. Not for much longer. They crossed the pedestrian path of the Brooklyn Bridge, the snow crunching underfoot. Anna looked down at the dark water swirling below, the same water that had almost claimed her. I used to be afraid of it, she said quietly. Now it feels like it's on my side. Vivian smiled. That's because it already took what he loved most, control. Anna looked ahead at the lights of the city she once called home. Her reflection in the icy glass of a passing car showed not fear but resolve. She wasn't running anymore. She was hunting. Morning crept across Manhattan like a silent promise. The city was waking up, but inside a glass-walled conference room on the 27th floor of Sullivan Holdings, the air was already heavy. Mark sat at the head of the table pretending to review reports, though his hands trembled slightly around his Mont Blanc pen. His assistant poured coffee, whispering, "Mr. Sullivan, the insurance adjuster's here to finalize your wife's claim." He smiled tightly. "Send him in." Across the street, in a black Mercedes parked near the curb, Anna watched from behind tinted windows. Vivian sat beside her, calm and focused, a laptop open on her lap. Sam DeLuca leaned in from the passenger seat. "The adjuster meeting starts in 5. Once he signs, the funds get released within 24 hours. Anna's voice was low but sharp. "And when that happens, he'll have to log into the transfer portal himself, right?" Sam nodded. "Exactly. His digital signature is required. That's when we intercept it." Vivian smiled faintly. "And that's when he realizes ghosts can type." Anna took a deep breath, the city's hum pressing against the car windows. Her pulse synced with the rhythm of traffic, steady, relentless. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was an architect of justice. Inside the office, Mark greeted the insurance adjuster with rehearsed sadness. "It's been difficult," he said, eyes misty on cue. "Anna was everything to me." The adjuster nodded politely, sliding a stack of documents across the table. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Sullivan. We just need your final signature to close the claim." Mark took the Mont Blanc pen, poised it above the line, when his office phone buzzed. He frowned. "Hold on." The screen showed an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A pause, then a soft, unmistakable voice. "You sound nervous, Mark." The pen slipped from his hand. His heart stuttered. "Who is this? You don't recognize your wife's voice?" The color drained from his face. He turned toward the window, staring down at the street below. Far off, a black car was parked. His reflection in the glass trembled. "This isn't possible," he whispered. "It wasn't supposed to be," Anna said through the phone, her tone cold, deliberate. "But then again, neither was my fall." He slammed the phone down, breathing hard. "She's dead," he muttered. "She's dead." The adjuster blinked, confused. "Mr. Sullivan?" Mark forced a laugh, waving it off. "Wrong number. My head's just been somewhere else." But his hand was shaking as he signed the last page. Across the street, Vivian's laptop pinged. "Got it. Signature authenticated." Sam grinned. "Now we send it." Anna watched the screen as the intercepted data packet transferred to Blake's encrypted server. Proof that Mark had personally executed the fraudulent claim. Every digital trail, every timestamp, every falsified document now pointed straight to him. Vivian closed the laptop gently. "You just pulled the trigger without lifting a finger." Anna's eyes stayed on the building. "He thought I was weak." He forgot. Pain teaches precision. Inside, Mark felt his phone buzz again. He picked it up, and a video began to play automatically. It was grainy, but the image was clear enough, him standing near the helicopter, the moment before he pushed Anna. Her scream echoed through the room. His mouth went dry. "No." The adjuster looked startled. "Mr. Sullivan, are you all right?" Mark stumbled back, the phone slipping from his fingers. "This can't be happening." Outside, Anna whispered, "Oh, it's happening." Vivian glanced at her. "You ready?" Anna nodded. "Yes. Time to end the pretending." She stepped out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement, snow melting underfoot. The world felt both silent and thunderous. Across the street, Mark stared down from his glass tower, frozen in disbelief as she looked up. Alive, unbroken, unstoppable. For the first time in his life, Mark Sullivan understood true fear. Because the woman he buried at sea had come back to bury him in truth. Mark's world began to tilt the moment he saw her. Through the glass of his office, across the chaos of Fifth Avenue, she stood, alive. The shock punched the air from his lungs. For a moment he thought it was a hallucination, another cruel echo of guilt. But then she moved, deliberate, real, alive. He stumbled back from the window, heart pounding, face pale. His assistant rushed in, startled. "Sir? Are you okay?" Mark forced himself to speak. "Cancel my meetings." His voice came out rough, strangled. "Now." He grabbed his coat and stormed out of the office, ignoring the adjuster calling after him. On the elevator ride down, sweat trickled down his temple. The city blurred behind glass panels. She can't be alive. She can't. But the image wouldn't leave him. Her calm expression. The fire in her eyes. When the elevator doors opened, he pushed past a crowd of employees, bursting into the street. But she was gone. The black Mercedes that had been parked across the street was nowhere to be found. Kara called him seconds later. "You sound like hell," she said, her voice half amused, half annoyed. "She's alive, Kara," he whispered. A pause. "What?" "I saw her. I swear I saw her." Kara sighed. "Mark, you're losing it. You need sleep." "She called me, Kara. She spoke to me." Another silence. Then her tone changed. "Did anyone else hear?" "No, just me." "Then maybe you should forget it." But even through the phone, Kara's nerves trembled. When she hung up, she immediately dialed another number. Harold Green, the broker. "We've got a problem," she hissed. "She might not be dead." Meanwhile, across town, in a quiet apartment above a florist's shop, Anna sat at the table with Vivian and Sam. The air buzzed with quiet triumph, but her face was unreadable. "She saw you," Sam said. "You rattled him. He's cracking faster than we planned." Anna stared at the tea steaming in her cup. "He's dangerous when cornered." Vivian leaned forward. "Which means we need to be ready for his next move." Sam opened his laptop. "We intercepted another transaction. $250,000 wired to a Cayman account under Kara Pierce's name. He's trying to move assets before the freeze order hits." "Can we stop it?" Anna asked. "Already did," Sam replied. "The DA's office froze both accounts under suspicion of fraud. Henry Blake will hand-deliver the documents to court tomorrow morning." Vivian smiled faintly. "Tomorrow, Mark Sullivan stops pretending to be human." Anna looked toward the window. Snow had started to fall again, soft flakes glowing in the streetlight. "He won't surrender quietly." "No," Vivian agreed, "but he'll surrender." Across the city, Mark sat alone in his penthouse, the lights dim, the air thick with whiskey and panic. He stared at the video still frozen on his phone, the moment before he pushed her. His trembling hand hovered over the delete button but never pressed it. A knock echoed through the apartment. He froze. "Who is it?" "Building security, sir," a voice called. Mark opened the door to find Detective Luis Romero standing in the hallway, badge in hand. "Mr. Sullivan," Romero said evenly. "We need to talk." Mark's face hardened. "About what?" Romero stepped inside. "About a claim you filed on your wife, and a video that just reached my office." Mark's stomach turned cold. "What video?" Romero smiled faintly. "You'll see soon enough." He turned to leave, but before stepping out he added, "Oh, and congratulations. Looks like your wife's made a full recovery." The door shut, leaving Mark frozen in place, his reflection warped in the glass wall of his apartment. His perfect world, his mirror, was cracking. Down in the lobby, Romero got into his car and called Vivian. "He's unraveling," he said. "Tomorrow's the day." Vivian's voice was calm. "Good. Let him break himself." As she hung up, Anna stood behind her, watching the snow through the window, her expression steady. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "the truth walks into the light, and this time I'll be the one watching him fall." Dawn spilled gold over the skyline when Anna arrived at Vivian Park's townhouse on the Upper East Side. The brownstone was discreet from the outside, ivy climbing up brick walls, black iron gates polished to perfection. But inside, it was a fortress of quiet power. Vivian was already waiting in the parlor, a steaming mug of black coffee in hand, dressed in a white silk blouse and confidence. "You didn't sleep," she said, noticing the dark circles under Anna's eyes. Anna shook her head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the water again." Vivian nodded, understanding. "Then we use that. Pain sharpens the blade." She set her coffee down and motioned toward the table, where files were spread across its surface. Contracts, bank statements, and photographs. At the center lay a photo of Kara Pierce, Mark's mistress. Anna's eyes hardened. She knew everything. Worse, Vivian said. She helped plan it. Sam DeLuca entered from the adjoining room, phone pressed to his ear. We traced Kara's call logs. She spoke with Harold Green 23 times in the month before your accident. She also booked the helicopter through a fake agency tied to one of Mark's shell companies. Anna's breath caught. So she was there from the start. Sam nodded. We've got enough for conspiracy charges once the DA reviews it. But Vivian thinks we can do more. Vivian smiled, leaning back in her chair. Exposing a criminal is justice. Making the world watch is power. Anna frowned. You mean public? Exactly, Vivian said. Mark built his reputation on image. Every gala, every press interview, every smiling photo of the perfect couple. He worships attention. So we destroy him where he feels it most, in front of everyone. Anna hesitated. How? Vivian slid a black envelope across the table. Inside was an invitation. Ritz-Carlton, Manhattan, Sullivan Holdings Charity Gala, Friday 8 p.m. Anna stared at it, pulse quickening. He's still going through with it? Vivian's lips curved. He thinks the claim money will clear before then. He plans to announce a new partnership, clean his image, maybe even propose to Kara in front of investors. Sam added dryly, classic narcissist victory lap. Vivian's tone turned sharp. Then we take the stage first. Anna looked from one to the other, disbelief flickering. You want me to walk into that gala? He'll lose his mind. That's the point, Vivian said. He needs to lose it. In front of the cameras. You'll have protection, the DA's office will be on standby, and Detective Romero will be in the audience. One wrong word from him, and it's over. Anna's heart pounded. Vivian, I'm pregnant. I can't. Vivian reached across the table, taking her hands. You're not walking in as his wife. You're walking in as the woman who lived. Every scar, every tear, you wear it like armor. Silence stretched between them. Then Anna exhaled slowly, resolve settling into her bones. Fine, he wanted a show. I'll give him one. Vivian smiled, fierce and proud. That's my girl. As they finalized the plan, Elise arrived, carrying a small case. Just a quick checkup, she said warmly, running the Doppler monitor across Anna's belly. The sound of a steady heartbeat filled the room. Strong, defiant. That, Elise said softly, is what he couldn't destroy. Anna's eyes shimmered, but her voice was steady. Then let's make sure he never tries again. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Anna practiced her entrance in front of the mirror. Her black dress shimmered faintly under the lamplight, elegant and controlled. She rehearsed every step, every breath, every look she'd give him when their eyes met again. For months, she'd been invisible. Tomorrow, she would walk through the doors of the Ritz-Carlton and remind the world what happens when a woman refuses to stay buried. She touched her belly one last time, whispering, "He took our peace, but he'll never take our truth." Tomorrow night, the curtain rises. And this time, I'm the one holding the spotlight. The Ritz-Carlton Manhattan shimmered under chandeliers and champagne light. Outside, cameras flashed as black cars rolled up one by one, releasing New York's elite in a parade of glitter and arrogance. Inside, the ballroom pulsed with soft jazz, laughter, and the kind of perfume that costs more than rent. Mark Sullivan stood near the center of it all, flawless in his navy tuxedo, the picture of wealth and redemption. The press whispered about his resilience, the tragic widower who had turned his pain into philanthropy. The charity gala, hosted under Sullivan Holdings, was dedicated to families who had lost loved ones in accidents. The irony was poison wrapped in silk. At his side, Kara Pierce glowed in a gold gown, her smile stretched too wide. "You're playing this perfectly," she murmured. "By the end of the night, everyone will love you again." Mark's smirk was practiced. "Love is currency, Kara, the only kind that lasts." But deep down, his hands were cold. Ever since that call, her voice, alive, haunting, he hadn't slept. He'd convinced himself it was stress, a trick of guilt. But the sound of her still echoed through his bones. Across town, in a quiet penthouse suite overlooking Central Park, Anna adjusted the diamond pin in her hair. The reflection in the mirror no longer looked like a broken woman. Her posture was poised, her gaze sharp. Vivian stood behind her, fastening the final clasp of her black satin dress. "You ready?" Vivian asked. Anna met her own reflection. "I've been ready since the moment he let go of my hand." Sam DeLuca entered, dressed in a black tux. "Detective Romero's already inside. Blake's with the DA. Cameras are set, audio's live. You walk in and the whole world hears the truth." Anna's heart pounded. Not with fear, but with focus. She glanced once at the small ultrasound photo tucked inside her clutch. "Let's end this." The private jet Vivian had arranged earlier in the week was part of the planned spectacle. Anna would arrive at the hotel's rooftop helipad, escorted by security, alive, radiant, and untouchable. The media would be notified just minutes before her entrance. As the clock struck 8, the chopper blades cut through the winter air. Below, guests in gowns and tuxedos poured champagne, unaware that their night of luxury was about to collapse into history. Inside the ballroom, the host took the stage. Please welcome the man who's turned tragedy into triumph, Mr. Mark Sullivan. Applause thundered. Mark smiled, raising his glass. Thank you. Tonight isn't about loss, it's about legacy. It's about... He froze. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the ballroom doors opened. Every camera turned. Anna walked in. The music stopped. She moved like the embodiment of calm fury, her heels echoing against marble, her dress trailing like shadowed silk. Heads turned, whispers ignited. The woman everyone thought was dead stood alive before them, graceful, haunting, unbroken. Kara's champagne glass shattered on the floor. Mark's face went white. No, he whispered. This isn't possible. Anna stopped a few feet away, her gaze locked on his. Surprised, Mark? You should be. The ocean didn't keep me, it carried me back. Cameras flashed wildly. Guests gasped, murmured, recorded. Security, Mark barked, panic creeping into his voice. But Detective Romero was already stepping forward, badge raised. No need, Mr. Sullivan. You'll want to hear this. From the speakers, a voice recording played, the one from the River Cafe. Harold Green's voice echoed through the ballroom. Tell Sullivan to relax. If he starts panicking, it's over. He already left a trail of transfers I can't clean up. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Investors pulled out their phones. Anna took one final step forward, voice steady as glass. You didn't just try to kill me, Mark. You tried to erase me. But I survived, and I remember every lie. He reached out as if to stop her, his mask cracking. Anna, please. But she stepped back, her voice rising. No. Tonight, the truth speaks louder than you ever could. And in that moment, Mark Sullivan, the man who thought he owned life and death, finally saw what it meant to lose everything. Because the woman he'd buried in the sea had just risen in front of the world. Chaos tore through the ballroom like wildfire. The sound of cameras clicking was deafening, flashes exploding across Mark Sullivan's pale face. Reporters shouted his name. Guests stumbled backward, and the air that had once smelled of champagne now reeked of panic. Anna stood motionless in the center of it all, her chin lifted, her eyes locked on the man who once swore he loved her. For a brief, trembling second, silence hung between them, the ghost and her murderer. Mark took a hesitant step forward, trembling. Anna, please. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, she cut in, her voice slicing through the noise. You pushed me. You planned it, and you thought the ocean would wash away your sin. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kara Pierce froze, mascara running down her cheeks. The DA's team moved discreetly through the edge of the room, cameras recording every word. Vivian, standing near the back, gave a subtle nod to Detective Romero. Let him talk, she whispered. The more he talks, the deeper he digs. Romero stepped forward but didn't interrupt. The detective's expression was stone, his recorder light blinked red. Mark's composure shattered. You're alive, fine, but I didn't mean to. It was an accident. An accident? Anna echoed, her tone steady, almost calm. You took out 2 life insurance policies under my name. You bribed a broker. You paid a pilot to turn off the headset so no one could hear me scream. Tell me, Mark, how many accidents does it take to earn $8 million? A murmur spread through the crowd like a wave. A few guests began to film openly, their phones raised high. Mark's eyes darted to Kara. You said everything was handled, he hissed. Kara stepped back, her gold gown glinting under the chandeliers. Don't you dare put this on me, Mark. You're the one who pushed her. Every camera turned. The room gasped again. Anna's expression didn't change. Thank you, Kara, she said softly. That'll do. At the back of the ballroom, Henry Blake walked in with a court officer, a folder in his hand. Detective, he said, I have a signed warrant. Fraud, attempted homicide, and conspiracy. Romero nodded once. Perfect timing. Mark's voice broke. No, you can't arrest me here, not in front of them. Anna took one step closer. You wanted an audience when you killed me, remember? His face twisted, rage and fear clashing in his eyes. You ruined me. No, Mark, she said softly, you did that all by yourself. Romero moved forward. "Mark Sullivan, you're under arrest." But Mark suddenly lunged for Kara, grabbing her wrist. "You set me up," he shouted. Glass shattered as a waiter's tray hit the floor. Security rushed in, restraining him, his movements wild, desperate. The cameras kept rolling. Every second broadcast live to the world through social media, through every lens and whisper. Kara sobbed. He said she was dead. He promised it was done. Anna turned away, her heart pounding. The baby kicked gently, a quiet reminder that life was still inside her. Vivian reached her side, steadying her. "It's over," she murmured. Mark's screams echoed as officers forced him toward the exit, handcuffed, broken, exposed. Reporters swarmed the doors, shouting questions he no longer had answers for. Anna stood beneath the chandeliers, her reflection shimmering in every crystal facet. A woman once invisible, now undeniable. As the doors slammed shut behind her husband, the crowd's noise began to fade. Vivian squeezed her shoulder. "Justice feels different when it's public, doesn't it?" Anna's gaze softened. "It's not justice I wanted," she whispered. "It's peace." They walked out together, the cold Manhattan air washing over them. The sky above the Ritz-Carlton glowed silver. Anna looked up and breathed deeply. "He tried to throw me from the sky," she murmured, "but I learned how to fly." And tonight the world finally saw her wings. The headlines hit New York before the sun did. Every newspaper, every digital feed, every billboard carried the same photo. Mark Sullivan, once the city's golden businessman, being led out of the Ritz-Carlton in handcuffs. The caption below read, "Wife he tried to kill returns from the dead." In the quiet apartment overlooking Central Park, Anna sat at the kitchen table wrapped in a gray shawl, a cup of tea warming her hands. The steam rose gently, mingling with the morning light spilling across the marble counter. For the first time in months, she wasn't hiding. Vivian entered, holding a folded copy of the New York Times. She placed it in front of Anna without a word. The headline was bold, merciless, "The Sullivan Scandal: Greed, Betrayal, and Survival." Anna stared at it for a long moment, then pushed it aside. "It's strange," she said softly. "Everyone keeps calling me the woman who survived, but that's not who I want to be forever." Vivian smiled gently. "Then who are you now?" Anna looked out the window at the snow-dusted park below. Children were building snowmen. Dogs barked. A couple laughed. "Alive," she whispered. "Just alive." Sam DeLuca knocked once and stepped in, carrying a small box. "Morning, ladies. Thought you'd want to see this." He set the box on the table and opened it. Inside was Anna's wedding ring, retrieved from evidence. The metal was scratched, dulled by seawater, but still whole. Anna stared at it, the weight of memory pressing into her chest. "It feels like another lifetime." Sam nodded. "That's because it was. This," he gestured at the ring, "belongs to the woman who drowned. You don't owe her anything anymore." She took a deep breath, picked up the ring, and held it over the sink. "Goodbye, Anna Sullivan." The ring slipped from her fingers, clinking once before disappearing down the drain. Vivian watched quietly, her expression proud. "That's closure," she said. "Not yet," Anna replied. "There's still the trial." "Romero's handling it," Sam said. "You've already given your statement. The evidence is airtight. The DA says he'll plead guilty once Kara testifies." At the mention of her name, Anna frowned. "Kara? Will she?" Sam shrugged. "She's scared. But she's talking. Blake's making sure she gets protection. She'll trade her testimony for a lighter sentence." Anna nodded, though her voice softened. "I don't hate her anymore. She's just another person he broke." Vivian tilted her head. "That's empathy most people wouldn't have after what you've been through." Anna smiled faintly. "Hate kept me alive, but it won't help me live." Silence fell over the room, gentle and healing. The clock ticked, the city breathed, and for once, peace didn't feel impossible. After breakfast, Elise arrived with her medical bag and that familiar, grounding calm. She ran the Doppler across Anna's belly again. The heartbeat came through strong, steady, like a drumbeat of victory. "You're both doing beautifully," Elise said. "Strong baby, stronger mother." Anna touched her belly, tears welling in her eyes. "He'll never know what it means to lose his mother. I promise that." Elise smiled. "And that's why you made it back." That afternoon, Vivian received a call from the DA's office confirming that the trial date was set for spring. She hung up and turned to Anna. "It's official. The world will see the truth play out in court. You won't have to hide ever again." Anna stood by the window as the city lights began to blink on one by one. "Then maybe I'll start living again," she whispered. Not as someone's wife, not as a survivor, but as me. Vivian looked at her and said softly, "Welcome back, Anna Nguyen." Outside, the snow began to fall again, soft and slow, blanketing the scars of the city. And inside, for the first time in a long time, she felt warm. 3 weeks after the gala, Manhattan had returned to its usual rhythm. Cars honking, snow melting into dirty slush, and people rushing toward deadlines and dreams. But inside the marble halls of the New York County Courthouse, time felt slower, heavier. The city had moved on, but Anna Nguyen was about to face the man who once pushed her toward death. She stood in front of the mirror inside the courthouse restroom, adjusting her navy blue dress. No glamour, no jewelry, just quiet strength. Her belly had rounded slightly now, a small but visible promise of life. She smoothed her coat, inhaled deeply, and whispered to herself, "You made it back." Vivian entered behind her, carrying a leather folder. "The DA wants you seated in the front row. You don't have to testify again, but your presence matters." Anna nodded. "I'm not afraid of him anymore." Vivian's smile was gentle but proud. "That's because he's already smaller than you." Outside, the courthouse buzzed with press cameras. Reporters shouted questions about the Sullivan trial, the biggest scandal of the season. When Anna stepped through the doors, the noise dulled, almost respectful. Everyone knew her story, the woman who fell from the sky and rose again. Inside the courtroom, Mark Sullivan sat beside his defense attorney, wrists bound in polished steel. His once perfect hair was unkempt, his tailored suit wrinkled. The arrogance that had defined him had drained away, leaving a man who looked ordinary, weak even. When his eyes met Anna's, he froze. For a moment, the courtroom fell silent. The same eyes that once looked at her with love and lies now flickered with something like fear. The judge entered. Court is now in session. The DA, Henry Blake, stood tall, his voice clear. "Your Honor, the state of New York presents overwhelming evidence that the defendant, Mark Sullivan, orchestrated the attempted murder of his pregnant wife for financial gain. The prosecution rests its case on recordings, financial documents, and eyewitness statements, particularly that of Ms. Kara Pierce." At the mention of her name, Kara shifted nervously on the witness stand. She looked different, smaller, fragile. Her voice trembled as she confessed everything. How Mark had promised her the money, how she'd helped him falsify flight records, how she'd realized too late that he never intended to share anything with her but ruin. Mark clenched his fists. "You liar," he shouted. The judge's gavel slammed. "Mr. Sullivan, you will remain silent." Anna didn't move. She just watched. Calm, still, strong. The defense tried to spin the story, claimed it was an accident, that Mark had panicked, that grief made him act irrationally. But every word sounded hollow against the recordings played aloud. Harold Green's voice filled the courtroom again, sealing Mark's fate. By noon, the verdict was ready. The judge's voice echoed through the chamber. For attempted homicide, insurance fraud, and conspiracy, the court sentences Mark Sullivan to 40 years in federal prison. The sound of the gavel struck like thunder. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras clicked, and whispers rippled through the room. Mark turned to Anna one last time, eyes wide, desperate. "Please," he said, voice breaking. "Anna, you have to believe me. I loved you." She stood, meeting his gaze one final time. "No, Mark, you loved control, and now you've lost it." 2 officers led him away. His reflection vanished through the glass door, swallowed by flashing lights and the world's eyes. Vivian touched Anna's shoulder. "It's over." Anna exhaled, the air leaving her lungs in a long, trembling sigh. "No," she said softly. "It's finally beginning." Outside, as she stepped into the cold afternoon light, reporters called her name, but she didn't stop. She walked past the cameras, down the courthouse steps, into the city that had once nearly forgotten her. For the first time, the sound of helicopter blades in the sky didn't scare her. It only reminded her how far she had climbed back. And this time, no one would ever push her down again. A month after the verdict, spring returned to New York. The snow that had buried the city melted into shimmering puddles, and the air smelled faintly of rain and blooming magnolia. Life moved on, just as it always did. But for Anna Nguyen, every sunrise now carried a quiet victory. She stood on the balcony of her new apartment, overlooking Central Park. Morning light spilled across the skyline, golden and calm. The city that had once nearly swallowed her whole now looked beautiful again, almost forgiving. Inside, soft jazz played from a small Bluetooth speaker, filling the room with warmth. Anna moved slowly, one hand resting on her belly as she unpacked boxes labeled nursery. Vivian had helped her find this place, a simple two-bedroom apartment with white walls and sunlight that seemed to heal. On the counter sat her MacBook Air, open to an email from the River Cafe. The subject line read, "Event Coordinator Position, Offer Approved." She smiled faintly. The restaurant where she had once been found, the place that marked her survival, was now offering her a job. Life, in its strange poetry, had come full circle. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Dr. Elise Carter, holding a bouquet of tulips. "You're glowing," Elise said with a grin. Anna laughed softly. "Pregnancy will do that." They sat at the kitchen table, sipping tea. Elise glanced around, admiring the small but cozy space. "You've done it, you know," she said. "You rebuilt." Anna looked out the window, thoughtful. "Sometimes I still wake up thinking I'm underwater," she admitted. "Then I look around and I remember I can breathe." Elise reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "That's healing. It doesn't erase the pain. It just stops it from owning you." Anna smiled. "You sound like Vivian." Elise laughed. "She and I should start a book club." They talked about baby names for a while. Lucas, Daniel, maybe Hannah if it was a girl. Elise finally stood, checking her watch. "Your first prenatal class is next week. Don't skip it." "I won't," Anna promised. After Elise left, Anna walked back to the balcony. A gentle breeze brushed against her face, carrying the smell of spring rain and city coffee. Below, people walked dogs, jogged, laughed. She had been gone from this life for so long, but now she was part of it again. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "Lunch at the plaza? You deserve a little Dior moment." Anna smiled. "Maybe next week. Today I just want quiet." She turned off her phone and let the world slow down. In her living room sat a small box she hadn't opened yet, the one Sam had given her after the trial. She picked it up, curiosity stirring. Inside lay a single photograph, her standing at the Ritz-Carlton the night of the gala, eyes steady, face lit by chandelier light. Beneath it, a note in Sam's handwriting. "You didn't just survive, Anna. You became the story no one will ever forget." Tears slipped down her cheeks, soft and clean. For the first time, they weren't from pain. They were from peace. She placed the photo on her bookshelf next to a copy of Women Who Run with the Wolves and an old Citizen watch that had belonged to her father. Symbols of strength, memory, legacy. Then she whispered into the quiet room, "We're going to be okay, little one. We already are." Outside, clouds parted, and a shaft of sunlight flooded the apartment. It glowed over her face, over her hands, over the gentle curve of new life beneath her heart. The woman who had fallen from the sky was no longer running from her past. She was walking toward her future. And this time, every step was her own. It was early June when Manhattan finally warmed. The cold winds had drifted out to sea, and the city pulsed again with sunlight and noise. Anna Nguyen walked through Central Park wearing a soft linen dress, her hand resting lightly on her pregnant belly. The baby had begun to move more often, gentle reminders that life kept growing, no matter what had been lost. A few blocks away, the trial's aftermath still lingered in headlines and talk shows. Mark Sullivan's face appeared everywhere, the fall of a Wall Street darling. Yet for Anna, the noise was fading. Each day the past grew quieter. That morning, she carried a small envelope addressed to the Department of Corrections. Inside was a letter, her final one to Mark. Vivian had warned her not to send it. "He doesn't deserve a single word," she'd said. But Anna wasn't writing for him. She was writing for herself. She sat on a park bench near Bethesda Fountain, the sound of running water blending with the laughter of children nearby. She unfolded the letter once more and read it silently before sealing it shut. "Mark, you took everything you could. My safety, my trust, my peace. But you didn't win. I lived. And more than that, I've learned to forgive. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to let your darkness live inside me any longer. I'm not sending this to free you. I'm sending it to free myself." Anna, when she finished reading, she felt lighter. She slipped the envelope into her tote bag. Tomorrow, she'd mail it. "Letting go?" a voice said behind her. She turned to see Dr. Elise Carter walking up the path, her hair pulled back, a Starbucks cup in hand. Anna smiled, trying to. Elise sat beside her. "You know, forgiveness isn't weakness, it's power. I used to think forgiving meant forgetting, Anna said, but now I think it just means I'm done carrying the weight. Elise nodded approvingly. You've come a long way. Anna laughed softly. So, have you. You look rested for once. I took your advice, Elise said, smirking. Vacation in Santa Monica, no trauma, no helicopters. They laughed together, and for a moment the world felt simple again. After Elise left, Anna continued walking toward the north end of the park. Her phone buzzed, a message from Vivian. Brunch tomorrow? I have news. Anna replied, always brunch, always you. When she reached the park's edge, she stopped by a small bookstore. The front window displayed self-help titles and new fiction, but one familiar spine caught her eye, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. She smiled faintly and stepped inside. Gift wrap? The cashier asked. Yes, Anna said. For my son. The young clerk blinked. He's a bit young for philosophy. Anna's eyes softened. Someday he'll understand it. Back at her apartment, she placed the book on a small shelf in the nursery, beside a mobile of paper cranes and a framed sonogram photo. The room smelled faintly of lavender and hope. She opened the window, letting in the city breeze. Somewhere far below, a street musician played violin. The melody floated upward, gentle, haunting, alive. For the first time in a long while, Anna didn't feel haunted by the sound of engines or wind. The only sound she heard was peace. That evening, she lit a candle and sat by the window with her journal. On the first blank page, she wrote, I was pushed from the sky, but I learned how to land. She closed the book and smiled. The letter to Mark lay on the counter, waiting to be mailed in the morning. But deep down, she already knew it didn't matter whether he read it. The act of writing it had been enough. Outside, the city shimmered like a heartbeat. Inside, the woman who had once fallen from the sky finally exhaled. And in that quiet moment, forgiveness didn't sound like weakness. It sounded like freedom. By late August, New York was glowing with that golden, humid haze that made the city hum like a heartbeat. The chaos of the trial had faded, but Anna Nguyen's name hadn't. News outlets had turned her story into a modern parable. Documentaries, podcasts, interviews, even editorials titled The Woman Who Fell and Rose Again. She ignored most of it. Fame had never been her goal. Survival was. Healing was. That morning, Anna stood before a small audience inside a glass-walled event room overlooking the East River. She wore a simple cream dress, her belly now round with 8 months of quiet miracle. The event was called The Phoenix Project, Stories of Women Who Rebuilt Their Lives. Vivian had organized it with a single goal, to turn Anna's pain into purpose. Cameras clicked softly, journalists scribbled notes. But Anna wasn't nervous. She'd already faced death and lived to tell the story. A room full of strangers couldn't frighten her. When the host introduced her, she stepped up to the podium, her voice calm but firm. My name is Anna Nguyen, she began. A year ago I was pushed from a helicopter by the man I trusted most. He thought he ended my story that day. But what he didn't know is that survival is the beginning of every new chapter. The room was silent. Her words hung in the air, delicate and heavy all at once. I used to think strength meant silence, she continued. That being strong meant pretending everything was fine. But silence is what nearly killed me. Speaking saved me. And I stand here today not to relive the pain, but to prove that no one, not even fear, can define who you become after the fall. Applause rose gently at first, then grew louder. Vivian, sitting in the front row, smiled proudly, her eyes glistening. Dr. Elise sat beside her, recording the speech on her phone, while Sam DeLuca stood near the back, arms crossed but grinning. Anna's eyes softened. There's something I've learned through all this, she said. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over poison. And sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do, it's who you become. The applause turned into a standing ovation, but Anna only smiled modestly, placing a hand over her belly. This, she said quietly, is my real victory. After the event, reporters swarmed to ask questions. Will you write a book? Are you working with victims' advocacy groups? Do you ever think about your husband? She answered only one. I think about what he taught me, she said. That evil wins when we let fear keep us quiet. I won't be quiet anymore. That evening, she and Vivian walked along the East River. The skyline shimmered in gold and silver reflections. The breeze carried faint music from a wedding party nearby. You were extraordinary, Vivian said. Do you realize what you just did? Anna smiled. I spoke my truth. That's all. Vivian shook her head. No, you gave every woman in that room permission to rise. They stopped by the railing, watching the sun sink behind the Brooklyn Bridge. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Anna said softly, "You know, for months I thought survival was the end of the story. But it's not. It's the beginning." Vivian looked at her, warmth in her eyes. "And what comes next?" Anna turned toward the horizon, where the first city lights flickered to life. "Legacy," she whispered. "Not for me, for him." She placed her hand on her belly. "He'll grow up knowing his mother didn't die afraid. He'll know she stood back up." Vivian smiled through tears. "He'll know his mother changed lives." The city lights shimmered brighter, reflecting across the calm surface of the water. Anna exhaled, the cool air filling her lungs. For the first time, her past felt far away, like a storm that had passed, leaving sunlight in its wake. She was no longer the woman who fell. She was the woman who rose, and taught others how to rise too. It was late October when the city woke beneath a sky brushed in soft gold. Autumn had arrived in Manhattan. The trees along Central Park West turned copper and crimson, leaves drifting lazily across the streets. The air was crisp, alive. Somewhere below, the sound of car horns mingled with laughter and life. Inside her apartment, Anna Nguyen stood by the window, sunlight washing over her like a benediction. She wore a soft gray sweater, her hair loose, her hands resting gently on her round belly. Her due date was just days away. The city outside pulsed with energy, but inside the apartment, there was only quiet, a peace she had built, piece by piece, from the ruins of her old life. A knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. It was Vivian, carrying a small white box tied with a silk ribbon. "For you," she said, smiling. Anna opened it and found a delicate gold bracelet inside, engraved with 3 words, "She still rises." Tears filled her eyes. "Vivian?" "You earned it," Vivian said softly. "You turned your pain into power. You could have disappeared, Anna. You could have let bitterness eat you alive. But instead, you built something. You became someone the world needed." Anna touched the bracelet. "I couldn't have done it alone." Vivian shook her head. "You did the hardest part alone. You lived." They sat together at the kitchen table, drinking tea while sunlight danced across the walls. The room smelled faintly of vanilla candles and home. "Any nerves?" Vivian asked. Anna smiled. "Every kind. But mostly, I'm ready." Vivian leaned back. "You've already faced death. Giving life will be easy." They laughed, and the sound filled the space like music. A few hours later, Dr. Elise stopped by with her stethoscope and gentle calm. She placed the Doppler against Anna's belly, and the rhythmic thump of a tiny heartbeat filled the room. "Strong as ever," she said with a grin. "I think he's waiting for the perfect day to meet you." Anna looked down, whispering, "We've waited long enough." That night, when the city lights glittered against the glass, she packed a small hospital bag. Inside, she placed her essentials: a soft blanket, a phone charger, and a single photograph. Her standing at the Ritz-Carlton, the night she reclaimed her name. It wasn't a reminder of pain anymore. It was proof of resurrection. At dawn, her contractions began, gentle at first, then stronger, rolling like waves. Vivian drove her through the quiet streets, the city still waking up. Elise met them at the hospital doors, calm and ready. Hours passed in a blur of breathing, pushing, courage. Every sound, every tear, every heartbeat felt sacred. And when the first cry filled the room, the world seemed to stop. Elise smiled. "He's here." Anna held her son for the first time, tiny, warm, perfect. Tears spilled freely as she whispered, "You made it. We made it." Vivian stood nearby, eyes glistening. "Welcome to the world, little miracle." Outside, the sky cleared, sunlight streaming through the windows. Anna gazed at her son, tracing his fingers, his small heartbeat pulsing against her chest. "You'll never know fear like I did," she murmured. "Only strength, only love." Elise placed a hand on her shoulder. "You gave him both before he even took his first breath." Later, as night fell, Anna sat by the hospital window, her newborn sleeping in her arms. The city below shimmered, alive and endless. She thought about everything: the betrayal, the storm, the survival, the justice, and realized none of it defined her anymore. What defined her now was this moment, this heartbeat, this light. She whispered softly, "You're safe now, and so am I." Outside, the stars over Manhattan glittered like promises kept. The woman who had fallen from the sky had risen one final time. This time, as a mother, as a survivor, and as her own beginning. So that's how the story ends. Anna's journey wasn't just about survival. It was about rebirth, forgiveness, and the quiet power of choosing peace over pain. And if you're still here listening right now, maybe something in her story touched your heart too. Maybe, like Anna, you've also been through storms that tried to break you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the essence of healing. We can't control what others do to us, but we can control what we become after it. Anna rose not by fighting harder, but by choosing to rise wiser, calmer, freer. So my friend, if you've ever fallen, remember, falling isn't the end. It's just the pause before you rise higher. Let this story remind you that no darkness is final, and no pain is wasted if it teaches you to stand taller. If her journey moved you, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Because maybe, just maybe, the next story will touch someone else's heart the same way this one touched yours. You're still here, and that means you're already stronger than you think.